So hello and welcome. I am going to share my screen. I recently sent out a survey, or at least a post that kind of got a lot of people's ideas in what they wanted to hear from me tonight. So I'm going to do my best and try to address all of the questions that were left when you all registered today. So let's just jump right in and see if I can get these things going. All right, so today we are here to do a travel talk. And the reason I did this was because I had so many people ask so many questions recently about what is going on with travel these days. And there are so many questions, and just, pop it in the chat if something goes awry that I got to address, but I'm going to try my best to address the slides and read the chats as we go on. So many people have asked so many questions. So this is what I would call international travel tips and information 101 talk. So if it does seem to be a little bit basic for some of you who have been traveling and know a lot about international travel, I'm sorry for that. But since we have so many different types of people joining, I wanted to make sure that we covered all of the questions that were asked. Okay, so the agenda stands. What are we going to talk about? Well, one, who am I? What about COVID and the pandemic during travel? What are the protocols in place? Let's talk about group travel as opposed to individual vacations. Talking about stamina, mobility, money, packing, and more packing and more packing. Everybody wanted to know about packing, tips and tricks of travel, and then questions. Somebody's asking on the chat, will this be recorded? This should be recording right now, and hopefully the recording is able to be given out to people afterwards. I am also going live on Facebook, on our Facebook page, not on the groups, but on the page, just so everybody has a way to see it if they're on Facebook as well. Okay, so let's move along. So the first thing is my story. Who am I? And thank you for those of you who asked what my story is, because I always kind of forget to give that background. I know that you're all looking at my brand new shirt with my Girl Travel Tours logo on it. So I know some of you pointed that out, so I appreciate that. But essentially, who am I? I'm the daughter of a teacher, so I obviously came from modest means. I was fortunate enough to study abroad in college, and I worked my whole life in publishing, in traditional publishing as a younger person, and then most recently in multimedia publishing, online, webinars, podcasts. I worked for a company and owned a business called Pharma Voice, which catered specifically to the pharmaceutical business industry, and I recently sold that business. So I am full-time in travel and loving it. So I really love this second lease on life, and I'm really appreciating doing what I really, really love. So my passions in life are my family. If you know me, you know how dedicated I am to my family. I started out as a Girl Scout leader a long time ago, and I am still very involved in the girls, and I love supporting girls, whether they're in Girl Scouts or not. I think that, the tide rises all boats, and if we can just continue to support and be there and mentor girls, and just people in general, but specifically girls in my world, it's all good for everybody. And my passion, that's becoming more of a passion and a career, is travel. I started in 2014 working with an organization to take Girl Scouts abroad. And I have since grown that travel program from one trip a year with girls and their families to what will be this year, I believe, 10 tours, most of the tours being adult tours, and then some still in the summer for Girl Scouts and their families. Why travel? Why has the travel bug gotten me? Because I absolutely don't like to sit still. I don't like things to repeat themselves, and I don't like monotony. So why travel for me? I love to experience new cultures. I love to learn. I love to be exposed to new things. I believe that travel can reduce stress and anxiety in your life. I think it makes you more resilient to things. I think it helps your flexibility. It helps you open your mind to diversity and all things that you aren't. And it also teaches a huge appreciation for who you are, where you've come from, and quite honestly, your country. And the last one I just actually added, I've done a part of this program for other organizations and for schools, and I always talk about travel, but this one, since I am getting older, I added in red, it keeps you young, and I believe it does. I think that the excitement of travel and just the stamina it takes to travel keeps you young as well. So that's my story. Who am I? I'm a group leader for tours. So that means I take people on tour. As I said, some in the summer are multi-generational, specifically designed for girls, but we allow anybody to join us on those tours. And then the rest of the year, they're adult-only tours. I know my name is Girl Travel Tours, but our tours are geared for women and men. We certainly are open to anybody who wants to travel, but the premise and where I started this program was really designed for girls and their families. So that's why the name has stuck. I am also a travel advisor. I can work with you, your family, your group, your community group, your business, or wherever it is, and help you find the right vacation or the group tour for you. I enjoy working with people and sharing the knowledge that I have so that it makes it a better experience and gives them a better outcome for what they're looking for. So I thought I would start with a little bit of a question for you all, since normally on my virtual tours, I always have a little poll. I'm not doing a poll, but I thought a question would be fun to start with. And you can feel free to put something in the chat, but what can you pack without it affecting your suitcase weight? Since most of you in the questions were talking about packing, I thought it would be fun to have a little question on packing in general. So I'm going to let you go for a little bit, and I'm going to read some of these off. Everything you wear, a great attitude, flexibility, pack open mind. So you are on the right target there. So the first thing is patience. I think that patience, flexibility, and another really important thing is kindness, right? So I think that if you pack these, and it's a little play and a joke because everybody was, talking about how to pack light. This is the best way to pack light and the most effective and certainly the most meaningful things that you could put in your suitcase or take along with you when you're traveling, especially during a pandemic. It's even more important to remember these things. But I always say that, an attitude is contagious, and one that is built with the foundations of kindness, flexibility, and patience will only be positive to be viral on a tour. And then let's get into talking about the pandemic. Traveling during the pandemic. A lot of people ask questions about traveling during the pandemic and how are things going. So let's talk about that a little bit. So right now, and again, I will date this. What is the date? It is May 10th. This is as of May 10th. So it may not be tomorrow. It wasn't yesterday. These restrictions and protocols change on a daily basis. So we have to make sure that we are flexible. Going back to that. Vaccines. Right now, most countries are not calling for vaccinated travelers upon entry. However, it is extremely important to be vaccinated in order to travel internationally for certain reasons. One, if you're traveling with a group, most group organizations are still calling for vaccinated travelers. And many countries are asking for vaccinations to get into things like museums, restaurants, and things like that. So it is still important, but you'll want to research that or ask your travel advisor, me, when you're going to a country, if you need a vaccine. So for example, I'm doing a trip right now for a big family vacation to celebrate an anniversary and they're going to Jamaica. They're going on their own, not with a group, so they don't need to be vaccinated. The hotel, it's an all-inclusive. They don't need a vaccine to get there. The Jamaican government doesn't need a vaccine, so they're all good. So you just have to be mindful of where you're going and what you're doing. If you're traveling with me in the next 3 to 5 months, yes, vaccinations are still required. Pre-tour testing. Right now, if you're not traveling on a tour, there's no pre-tour testing needed. You can freely leave the United States without a negative COVID test. But if you are traveling with me on certain tours, the tour companies do require you, and it's just peace of mind, quite honestly. It's for you to know that you're negative when you're leaving your house and that you're not bringing the virus and sharing it with anybody else on tour. So again, you would just want to ask me if you're traveling with me, and ask and get the country information if you're traveling on your own, if that is necessary right now. Returning to the US, yes, yes, yes. You need a negative COVID test to return to the US. It cannot be a home generated COVID test. It needs to be either proctored or it needs to be done at an organization at your destination country in order for you to travel. But if you're doing US to US, like next week, we're doing a national parks tour, we don't need a negative COVID test to come home because we're going to be in the United States. So again, this is May 10th. This is what's happening today. That does not mean that this will happen on June the 18th or July the 10th or September 12th. So just please, stay in touch with me. Yes, of course. Carol says that the best place to look for this is the State Department website. I completely agree with you, Carol, but we do have some people who aren't comfortable navigating the web and they don't know where they're going when they do that. So I just want people to know that, they have a place to turn and get that information. But you are absolutely right. The State Department website is the best place to find the regulations on COVID and travel right now. So what does it look like in terms of airline recommendations? So airline recommendations have just changed again, right? So on many airlines, whether they're US or international, masks have become optional. So for example, there are certain airlines which are going to mandate masks, and then there are other airlines that are going to say they're optional. So you just have to know who you're traveling with, what goes on. And honestly, it's about feeling that out when you're actually in the airport and you're traveling. Because quite honestly, I went on an international trip about 3 weeks ago now. That airline on their website said they were optional for US flights only, but they had taken upon themselves to bring that rule to an international flight as well. So our flight was mask optional, even though on their website they stated that they were only US. Right? So then on the left-hand side, I have pre-departure requirements. Just because a lot of countries have dropped their COVID vaccine protocols and their COVID protocols for testing, it does not mean that the airlines don't have a lot of protocols in place for us to get in and out of the country. They do. And I gave this as an example. American Airlines has a partner, Verifly, which is an app that they ask their travelers to download and put all of their information in. And mostly it's an attestation form, which is like, I attest that I do not have COVID. I have not been sick in the last 15 days, or if I have, I am recovered and I have not been exposed to people. So it's things like that. And you upload your vaccine card and then you upload your passport. So it's all in there. So when you get to the airport, you're not going through all of that information and documentation with them. They're trying to streamline it so that it cuts down time at the airport. Personally, I don't see it cutting down much time because it seems like so many people are struggling with the apps and putting their information in and getting them all approved that it just creates a lot more questions at the airports. But we have to know that, again, packing flexibility is our best thing, and patience, because the airports have been extremely long lines and it's taking us a lot longer to get through to get on the plane than it used to. Okay, so that's just a update on that. So now we're going to get into clothes, packing, security, and things like that. I started with this slide because I thought it was really important. One of the things I always think of, and it might be because I'm getting older and I maybe am losing my mind a little bit. Today I left my phone somewhere and I couldn't find it. So, you know, maybe it's me, but anyway, I'll share it with you in case you're of the same mindset. When I travel, I wear particular clothing that makes it extremely easy for me to keep all of my items secure and in the same place. So for example, I have this wonderful vest that a friend of mine, a traveler friend of mine, gave me that I wear when it's warmer weather. And the vest has hidden pockets. And I wear pants with pockets and zipper pockets even better. When it's colder, I have a jacket that has hidden pockets and inside and outside pockets as well. So I'm left-handed. My phone is always in my left hand. It always goes in the same left pocket and I zipper it. My passport goes inside my vest in the same pocket. I always put it in the same place. My money, the opposite inside pocket. So what I'm getting to is know the three places you're going to put those things: passport, phone, money, and keep them in the exact same spot all of the time. That way, when you're checking in and somebody's talking to you about something else and somebody's got something else going on, you can just tap your pocket and know, oh yeah, there it is. I can feel my phone. Oh yeah, good. I can feel my passport. I don't have to flail through my purse. I don't have to go crazy in my backpack and figure out where all those things were. Every single time, put them in the same exact spot. It will save you. If this is the best tip I can give, it's the absolute best tip of all time. It'll save you from going crazy, especially as you take off your shoes and put things in the bins and get through security and all of those other things. It just saves you. Okay. So just please, you know, take that piece of advice and get the clothing that's necessary for you to be organized and streamline that process. Okay, so I mentioned the travel essentials, right? So my travel essentials, I'll just share a little bit about this with you. Passport and vaccine card. I don't use them separately. I use a holder. So my holder has my passport on one side and the vaccine card on the other. It's very easy to get to. I keep it in the same spot. And it's a good way to not lose either of them and to keep them together. I do, you know, you are asked to, at least right now, it might not be this way in a month, but right now you are asked to show your vaccine card, your original vaccine card, right? Your original vaccine card. You're asked to show that quite frequently with your passport. So for those two reasons, I keep them together and I keep them in the card, oh my gosh, the holder. So also credit cards. It is essential for you to have a credit card, an ATM card, and small bills handy. And you might say, oh, how do you do that, right? Well, I keep my small bills in a different place than I keep my large bills. So if I'm taking a lot of cash with me, I actually keep it clipped and I keep it in a different pocket and I keep it in an envelope or a different container, whether that's a wallet or an envelope. And then I keep my small bills on the outside I actually have a little wallet I keep my small bills in. And those really are just for like tipping, incidentals, buying things that are small that you wouldn't necessarily use a credit card for or something of that nature. So it's really important to have small bills, and I'll get back to why small bills are important, and I'll revisit the credit cards as well as we move along. But these are my essentials. If I have these things, I know that I'm good to go, and I could lose everything else, but my trip's going to be fine, right? A couple notes about things as I stop on this slide. Passports, vaccine cards, make 3 copies of them. Put 1 copy in your house and leave it with someone who's staying home. Put 1 copy in your suitcase. and put one copy in your backpack or your money belt, so that you have records of them in case, God forbid, you lose one, you at least can quickly access them and potentially replace them without a lot of trouble. So again, 3 copies, keep one at home, put 2 in 2 different places that you're gonna be using on tour, and you'll be all set. So let's get into packing. Everybody wants to talk about packing, and I spent a lot of time on packing, so I hope this suffices for everybody. So packing light, people think I'm crazy, and in the beginning, when somebody joins me on a tour and we talk about packing, they're like, well, no way, it's winter, I can't pack this light, or I'm bigger than you, I have bigger clothes, or my shoes are bigger, blah, 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 blah. You can always pack this light. It doesn't matter whether you're taking a 4-day tour or a 30-day tour. You can pack in a carry-on and a backpack. I've done it. I do it for long weekends, and I do it, in fact, it's harder for me to pack for a long weekend than it is for a long tour. But essentially, you're packing almost identically if you're going for a week or 3 weeks. So let's go through it. We'll see how it is, and then you guys can give me your feedback on whether you think it's possible for you or not. So your carry-on, that's your wheeled piece of luggage. That's something that has a handle. It's it's easy to navigate through the airport. You're not lugging it on your shoulder. It has wheels on each side. That has to be, and this is a general guideline. I got it from one website. Actually, it's a US standard, but this is American Airlines carry-on sizes and personal items. Some of the European airlines do have different sizes, so you would want to double, triple check with the airlines when you travel to make sure the carry-on and the personal item that you're putting underneath the seat have the same type of requirements in terms of size. Okay, so normally for an American airline, a carry-on should be 22 by 14 by 9. You see the little dotted lines around it, right? That's to the top of the handle to the bottom of the wheel. So if your bag says it's a 22-inch bag, but the wheels are an extra 2 inches, that doesn't work, right? They're going to put that in and they're going to say, no, it doesn't fit. You're not good. If you have luggage that has those pockets or things that expand out the front and make it wider and wider and wider, or deeper, I should say, deeper, 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 that may not be good enough for them either, because once you've gone through that 9 inches, it doesn't work anymore. That's why I like the hard cases that have wheels. I just think they're easy to maneuver. I think they withstand a lot of baggage throwing, and they take a lot of abuse going in and out of buses and on and off, up and down stairs. So I really do like that, but I understand luggage is a personal thing. You know, if I give a little plug to the best luggage on wheels, it's probably the Away brand, but I can't afford that, so I use Samsonite. And actually, I would love to get an Away carry-on luggage, but my Samsonite has lasted me for like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going on like 6 or 7 years with the same bag, and it's just great. So it's really given me everything I can ask for it. My personal item, the personal item that has to fit underneath the seat in the airplane should be 18 by 14 by 8. That's a pretty big number. Mine is not that big. And I don't even know that I could fit, like push it under there if it was 18 by 14 by 8. My backpack is the exact size of what fits under there for me. And sometimes my little pins that I have on my backpack get caught because that tiny little 1/8 of an inch more is just too much for it. But those are the sizes. And if anybody wants to copy these slides for the data part of it afterwards, I'd be happy to send you a link for you to download. So essentially, let's talk about what I use. The one thing I want to talk about is the wheels. You know, the wheels on a hard case, you should have 2 wheels on each corner. So ultimately, there are 8 wheels, because it's obvious what I'm going to say, right? 2 wheels are stronger than 1. They swivel better than 1, and they're just more sturdy than 1. So you'll notice when you shop for luggage, there are certain luggage with 2 wheels and 1 wheel. Please please buy the 2-wheeled ones. It's worth the extra $5 or $10. And sometimes you get them on sale and it's all about the same anyway. And then I'll just make a note about the backpack. I specifically bought a new backpack recently because if you notice in this picture how wide and strong the slip is that goes between the handle, that is a lifesaver for me. I don't carry anything in the airport. I literally walk through the airport with my hand on my carry-on and I just glide through home free. All of my documents are in my vest or my jacket, and I'm just walking through the airport. So for those of you who asked me, you know, how do you do this as a solo traveler? How do you get through the airport with all your luggage? I don't have that much luggage. I can go for a month on these two pieces of luggage and I'm completely fine. All right. So then you say, well, how do you do that? What do you pack? How can you manage that? Well, one, I check the weather, right? Check the weather before you go for where you're going and what the temperatures are. Okay, then packing tips. These are general tips that I use in order to be most efficient. One is that I use mesh see-through bags for my toiletries and my incidental items. So I'm putting everything in mesh bags and it will become really obvious. And most of this is like really common sense. Some people just didn't think of it, but you can see through the bag. So you don't have to undo the bag every time. Where's my toothbrush? Where did I put my, you know, my Listerine? Where's my baby powder? You can see everything in every mesh bag. So there's no need, even like if you were to say costume jewelry or whatever it is, all in mesh bags, and obviously try to do them with the best organization possible so that the toiletries that you need right away, like a toothbrush, Listerines, and something else is in one bag, your sunscreen might be in another bag. And some people may be thinking, well, how do you do the 3-1-1 bag if that's the case? Obviously, if you don't have TSA pre-check and you have to take out your liquids, one of those bags has to be your liquids. So if you have sunscreen, mouthwash, and what's in a 3-1-1 bag? Sunscreen, mouthwash, I don't know, whatever else, whatever other liquids you're putting in there, do that in one bag and then organize all the other ones as you need to in mesh bags, if that's something. All of the things I'm going to tell you are extremely inexpensive. Most of them are found on Amazon. I can give shampoo. No, you don't need to bring shampoo because most every place you go has shampoo. I will say that many places that are lower level, like 3-star, don't have conditioner. And sometimes even a 4-star hotel does not have conditioner. So you may have to, I actually pack a little thing of conditioner just because of that. If I'm traveling with the girls or if I'm traveling to Europe, I pack conditioner. So that's it. And, you know, somebody said, oh, what about your beauty products? Well, you can see me, I'm a no frills kind of person. I might take a little thing of mascara. I always take chapstick, but other than that, I don't have a lot of beauty products. I might have like some eye drops and things like that, but we're not talking about, big makeup things going on tour. So I'm going to get back to the packing list. It's actually hard for me to look at the chat and do this at the same time because I want to digress with every chat I see, but it's okay. So another thing I pack in the bottom of my suitcase is Ziploc bags, different sizes. And mostly I use Ziploc bags after clothes are too dirty to rewear the 5th time, because I'm rewearing clothes multiple times. But if they're too dirty to wear for the 5th time, I'll put them in a Ziploc bag and I'll roll them really tight and zip it so that they're really, really now smaller than they were when they were rolled in my suitcase. And I'll use that as my dirty clothes. I also do it with wet clothes. For example, if you have a bathing suit and you're doing, you know, you went in the water and you have wet clothes before you move on, that's another reason why you would do a Ziploc bag. Also, just for things that happen, you know, like, oh my gosh, something opened and spilled, let me put it in a Ziploc bag, or whatever it is, Ziploc bag. I bought something that I want to protect that could potentially get on other things, Ziploc bag. Another thing, the nylon duffel bag, let's talk about that. So a nylon duffel bag, empty, fold it on the bottom of your luggage so that as you go along on your tour or your vacation, you can add to that bag. because it's okay if you pack your luggage coming home. If it gets lost coming home, it's just going to meet you an extra week later at your home, but it's not going to ruin your vacation, right? It's not going to ruin your tour by not having any clothes. So expand your luggage as you go. But, and you know, people buy things. I have a lot of shoppers that like to come with me on my tours. So they buy things, whether you're putting your dirty clothes in the duffel bag or whatever's going in the duffel bag, you can expand things as you go along, whether they're purchases, dirty clothes, whatever you want to use it for, that's fine. Because when you get on that plane to come home, then you can check that, the hard case carry-on that you didn't check going over. I roll all my clothes. I roll them all. So I also use packing cubes for smaller trips. But when I have a really, really long trip, like 20 days, 30 days, I find the packing cubes do not give me as much. They don't allow me to pack as much as rolling the clothes. So I like the rolling of the clothes technique. I also put socks and shoes. I put underwear and shoes. I mean, I really take every little ounce of space and use it well. The top picture on the left where you see the bag open, I couldn't find a great picture of this and I didn't take a picture of my own bag, but I put my clothes on one side of the bag and my other essentials like my shoes, my toiletries, and anything else that I'm taking on the other side of the bag. If I have too many clothes for that one side of the bag, they don't go. I take them out. If I have to, that's like in my head, I have to keep all my clothes on one side, because what I don't want is to stuff the bag so much that it's bursting at the seams when I leave the house, right? Because especially when you're on a tour, especially bus tours, you're repacking every 2 and 3 days because you're changing cities. The last thing you want is an overstuffed piece of luggage where you're struggling every time to put things back in your luggage. Just little tips that I use. When something is too dirty, well, I'll tell you, with underwear right away, the way that I put it back in my luggage and that it gives me an understanding if it's clean or not, I fold it inside out. Folding it inside out tells me it's dirty. Don't touch it again, right? So that's a way to do it, whether you use the Ziploc bags or not. That's what, if my shirts have been worn too much and I just don't want to wear them again, fold it inside out. So I know, and then I start putting them in one side, like I'll put them at the top and then leave the other clothes at the bottom. And I'll put like a Ziploc lining around them. So I just make sure that I'm separating them, right? And then any group tour that you're on with me, if it's a girl tour, like if it's specifically for girls, we will have, we always look at the itinerary and we say, okay, on day 3 and day 6, we're in a hotel for 2 or 3 days. Those are perfect days to clean your clothes, right? Because you can wash them on day 1, hang them, and they'll be ready and dry on day 2 or 3. If you're on an adult tour, there's laundry facilities. We're not laundering them, we're sending them out. So we send them out in the morning, they give them back either the next morning or the evening. But again, you're looking for those days on tour where you're going to be in a hotel for 2 days at least. If you're on a river cruise, not a problem. You know, you're on that cruise for the whole time. They're laundering your things as you want. It's extremely easy. So that's why I say it's never hard to pack for a length of time, because whether you're washing your own things out in a sink, if you're on a girl specific tour, or if you're having the facility do the laundry for you, you can always refresh those clothes and start again, right? So those are just some tips in general about packing. And then let's talk about what you wear. Okay, so this is a summer tour. I always say layers, layers, layers. We want to think about layers all the time. So I showed this specifically because I'm hoping some of my girls are on here that are going to the European Palooza tour. You know, this is the thickness I'd like to see in a tank top. I always say, you know, no butts, bellies, or bums. I don't want to see any of that when I'm on tour. And that really goes to adults too, because we don't really want to show those parts either. But this is a very respectable tank top. It's a sleeveless top. Then you have certain shirts with sleeves. and then maybe a quarter zip for those mornings where you're in Switzerland or wherever it is where it's a little bit chillier. If you want to look a little nicer, you could do the same thing with a quick dry wicking collared shirt. These are all clothes that are quick dry, right? That's what you want to look for when you're traveling, especially in the summertime and just in general, because they do really help with perspiration, and they wear very well. They look good, and they don't wrinkle. Bottoms for a summer trip, you're looking at, maybe a long pair of pants, a couple shorts, 2, 3, whatever you need, and then maybe a nice little, tennis type skirt or something if you want to dress that up. What's on your feet if you're going on a summer tour, and this actually would apply for like our national parks tour too, you want to have a sturdy pair of shoes, whether that be sneakers or something a little heavier like a Merrell, but something that gives you support so that you're not going to twist an ankle or do whatever. Europe specifically has so much uneven pavement and cobblestones that it is really important to have your footing well. So I always suggest that people have that. And then if you do like to wear a sandal, I always say, look for a sandal that has a really good sole and a really good bottom and still offers you support. I love Wright socks, WRIGHT. They work very well under these types of shoes. So I always look for those short socks to wear with them. Okay, so a lot of folks are going on our Christmas markets, waterways, river cruise in the winter, and people are like, well, it's winter, we're not going to be able to do this in the winter. Well, I can tell you, I just went on a river cruise. It wasn't winter, but I did dress pretty much the same way, where you're taking layers again. You're layering, and I'm not a fashionista by no means, but I do wear a lot of neutrals. And you could decide what your neutral colors are, whether they're blues and grays, or they're blacks and grays, or they're, reds and blacks, whatever it is. Pick 2 colors and work them in and out of each other so that you can wear things with different things, right? So in this case, you're wearing a t-shirt during the day to tour, perhaps with a sweater, a heavy sweater, because you're going outside, but then you're taking that sweater off and you're putting it with a cardigan, and that might suffice for you. I will tell you, on the river cruises specifically, there's only one day that you really do want to dress up, and I say want because you don't have to dress up on any day. It was very easy for us just to use a nice blouse, and that was it. So I actually brought 3 different blouses for dinners, and I didn't wear them. I wore one, and I wore my cardigan a lot. I wore my cardigan with a piece of costume jewelry over a tee, and it was perfectly fine. What kind of pants or and I'm sorry for the guys on this, because I know I'm catering more towards the women, but it just does seem like the women have more questions about the packing and what to pack. So I think you could translate this into a nice pair of slacks and a nice button-down shirt very easily. But I always say a comfortable pair of leggings is great. Walking, comfortable, flexible walking pant, and then something that you can wear over and over and over again. A nice black pair of pants that doesn't wrinkle, that just flows. And if you want to, again, there's that one dress that you would wear to the captain's dinner or to the chef's table, and that's it. But essentially, if you are pairing these 2 nice blouses on the right with the black pants in the center, you've got it down. You're fine. You are going to be you're going to be perfectly fine. I am not one that needs to dress to impress others. I am more about being comfortable and okay with it in my own right. But I can tell you that if you had this lovely dress on the right rolled up in your suitcase, and it would be perfectly fine for you. And if you felt like you needed 2 of them, so be it, pack 2 of them. Winter cruise bottoms. In my opinion, I would pack 1 pair of flats for your evening dinners. You know, that same pair of pants that you wore out touring is perfectly fine now with a pair of flats on with it and a nicer blouse. In my opinion, I wear the hardest things on the plane. So for example, my boots in the middle, I would wear them on the plane. I would wear them, and I would wear that chunky sweater that we just looked at back here on the plane. So those two pieces of pretty big things that would take up my luggage would not be in my luggage. They would be on me when I go. So I'm not using up all that real estate in my luggage. So one pair of tennis shoes or something during the day when you don't need a pair of boots and a pair of flats, perfectly fine. Costume jewelry on a river cruise is going to be your biggest thing to pack that takes up the least amount of space. If you go back to that, if you go back and look at, okay, I'm now just wearing this little t-shirt, that's a long sleeve t-shirt, and I'm going to put it under this red cardigan, and I'm going to put this wonderful long piece of jewelry here. All of a sudden now I'm dressed up. I don't know about you, but anybody who wears jewelry, you're like, hey, you tried, right? It looks like you tried, it looks like you dressed up. That's all you need. It's all good. Safari. I'm sorry to digress, but I have tours going all different places, and I wanted to address the packing for all of them. This is pretty much your essentials in a safari that are different from others. The color of the clothes, they ask you to wear neutrals because obviously they don't want you to stand out on safari, and they don't want any colors to be upsetting or in any way affect the wildlife or the setting. But we are in a Jeep, and the Jeep has a motor, and I think they know we're there. So if you go with a red shirt on, is it going to be the worst? Possibly no, but they do ask that you wear neutrals. I did put a piece of luggage here so that anybody who's on here that's going on our safari realizes that there is no way you can use the hard case carry-on for a safari. You do need to use a soft duffel. There are 6 people in each Jeep, and you only get a certain amount of space for your luggage on that Jeep. So it is a specific piece of luggage, and I will be sharing the link with you so that you know exactly what you need to do in terms of what you're packing in for a safari. But here are some of the things, the same t-shirts, maybe a different color. I showed this little safari shirt because we found that in the mornings it was chilly. So we might wear the t-shirt with the safari shirt over it. And then as we go on during the day, as it gets warmer, you might shed the safari shirt. It might come back out later on in the evening when it gets a little chilly. So in the evenings and the mornings, it was chilly, but during the day, it was very pleasant. I personally wore a t-shirt and a long sleeve shirt like I have on here, and I would take one off for the other. And I would just layer. And I mean, when I layer, I might wear 4 things in the morning, and then I'm just taking them off one by one by one, because I prefer 4 thin layers over 1 thick thing. And that's just how I travel. I did put a picture on the bottom right of the passport health, because there were some questions about what vaccines are needed and what is needed to travel to Kenya and Tanzania. And everybody, and I'll talk to you all specifically, but anybody who's going on safari knows that you will have to make an appointment with a passport health agent in your area and go over the countries that you're visiting, and they will give you recommendations of what shots and or medicines you should be using before and during a safari. And again, we will have our own Zoom call to talk specifically about that, but I didn't want to confuse people showing them the other luggage without sort of taking it back for the safari, because the safari is a different animal, pun intended. And we'll be dealing with that a little bit different in the packing. Okay, so let's talk about sun protection, because a lot of the tours, whether they're in the summer or in the winter, need sun protection. I just came back from the Galapagos in February, and the sun is serious. When you go to South America, the sun is a whole different beast, and I am a white girl, so I needed to be mindful of that. So let's talk about what you need for that. You definitely need a hat of some kind when you're traveling. Even if we're going to Europe this summer or Alaska, put a hat in there and make sure that it either is a brimmed hat with a bandana so that you can put it around your neck, or it's something that drops so it covers your neck for protection. You know, you may need a cooling towel. European Palooza people, Italy is hot in the summer, so cooling towel is not a bad idea. I personally wear long sleeves a lot of times because again, I'm a white, very, very white. I am very susceptible to skin cancer. I just have to really protect myself. So for me, sometimes it's easier just to put on a very thin long sleeve shirt rather than, you know, lathering my whole body up. Sunglasses, the reason I put them on here was because I put the actual holder to just give people an understanding or an idea that you may want to travel with that holder, because especially when you're on tour, you know, if you whatever, if they come off your face for any reason, you're not losing them, right? Sometimes we do excursions that that may, for some reason, put you in a position where you jostle them or whatever, but they're safe with a glass holder. So that's why that's there. Let's see. Okay, other clothes to pack. I talked about underwear. This is the only thing that I probably take too much of, because I prefer to go, obviously we're not re-wearing underwear. Let's just like be upfront about that. So we're not taking one for every day though. You know, if I have 19 days, I'm not taking one for every day. I might take a half of the trip, you know, I might take 11 or I might take 10. And then obviously I'm plotting out where I'm going to get that wash done. I showed the bra because for women, it's really important to travel with a sports bra, especially through airports. You don't want to have the wires. That just causes more issue than not. So you want to stay away from a lot of metal when you're traveling through the airports. And the sports bras, in my mind, are easier to wash and have recycled for another wearing, rather than regular bras are. Bathing suit, simple pair of flip-flops. I showed this pair of flip-flops because it's very flat. You know, a cheap, simple pair of flip-flops to get you to the pool 2 times or 3 times in a trip is absolutely fine. So think about that, and obviously a cover up for that. But the finest, thinnest, you know, not a lot of weight there. So I'm showing these because they're not bulky, and that's the consideration. Other things to consider when packing. I always have a poncho at the bottom of my backpack. So it's this big when it's folded up, you know, it's very tiny. It's a little square, just goes at the bottom of my backpack. An umbrella, that is that's an idea for those that think they need it, right? In my case, I would wear a poncho, no problem. I don't necessarily need an umbrella. I can get wet, but some people don't, and they like to have the umbrella. Just, you see how small this one is in relationship to the hand. Just by, you know, have a small one. If you want to put it in your suitcase and then put it in your backpack during the day, that's absolutely fine. For those of you who may have slight mobility issues and you are mindful of the cobblestones and the terrain that you're walking in, you may want to have walking sticks with you. I know that we're going to the national parks next week, and that's a consideration for us because of the terrain that we're going to hit. But that's another thing, you know, it's up to you whether you want them or not. I showed this picture specifically because there are some that fold down into 12 inches. And they're in a very small tube, so it doesn't add a whole lot, but it is real estate in your luggage, so you'd have to sacrifice something for it. I always pack a cinch bag, a folded up cinch bag in my big backpack, so that during the day when we're on tour, if the tour director says, okay, we're going to stop for 3 hours and we're going to go into the Louvre, and the Louvre doesn't allow you to bring backpacks, or it actually, they do have lockers, but for example, anything that might be a smaller walk that you don't want to carry your whole backpack with you that has all your stuff for the day, a cinch bag is great. You transfer your water bottle to it, whatever you want, a kind bar, and you're off for that 2 hours or 3 hour excursion without dealing with the whole backpack. Because usually when you're on tour, you're leaving the hotel at 7 or 8 or 9 in the morning, and you're not getting back until 9 or 10 at night. So you are taking a lot with you in your backpack. So you'll always want to have a secondary small bag that can be repurposed for some of those shorter excursions during the day. Of course, this does not apply to river cruising, and it doesn't apply to a safari either, because they're very different beasts. Reusable shopping bags. These are the kind that fold up or scrunch up into a little ball and usually have a little tie on the top. They're very good to have right now, especially because most of the world has gone away from single-use plastic bags. So when you shop on your trips, they're not going to give you a bag. You're either going to have to buy a bag or have your own bag. So they're very good to have one of them tied to your backpack. Even it doesn't even have to be inside. It can be tied to the outside. A portable charger for your phone. In many cases, when you're out for a whole day, a lot of the buses do not have electrical outlets. So you'll have to be mindful of that. And if you're one to take a lot of pictures, I consider your phone to be a camera at this point and not for communication. When you're on tour, your phone becomes your camera. And if you're taking videos specifically, it really sucks the battery life out of it. But portable charger, I like the one I pictured because it has everything in one. It has the outlet to charge it, and it has the plugs to charge the phone. So I like that one because I don't have to worry about cords. Did I bring the right cord? What's the cord that I need? Blah, 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 blah. Is it in the backpack? No, I left it in the hotel, all of that. So it's all right there for you, and it's great. I'm going around this like a clock now, and I'm going to get to the adapter. This is by far the best $16 you'll ever spend. It's on Amazon. It is not only a universal adapter that works in every single country you'll ever go to, but it also charges all your USB devices, as well as has holes for the electrical. So it is amazingly great. It is in my luggage all the time. Just for the folks that are chatting, I will send you links to all of these products. If you would like me to, just let me know. And then I'll send a follow-up email to everybody with links to the products that I talked about if you are, desire to get any of these. But that's not the reason why I'm having this, just to be clear. I'm not trying to make you buy things, and I'm certainly not trying to sell you things. I just want you all to be prepared and just to be mindful of the things that we're talking about. So toiletries, what toiletries might I forget, right? So here are some of the ones that I just want to tell you a little bit about. Start with sunscreen. You don't have to have a big one. You can have a very small one, but just have one in your backpack. You don't have to, say you're going on a Galapagos cruise. You don't have to have enough sunscreen to get you through the whole cruise. Just have enough to get you started, right? Especially if you're going with carry-on only. You won't have the ability to bring all of that liquid. Blistex, no matter where you're going. I have found that my lips get chapped because of wind or sun or whatever it is. So just always carry that. Baby powder is always good. It helps in summer tours specifically. It also helps when you're traveling where there's water and you're getting in and out of wetsuits, or you're getting in and out of bathing suits. Wet ones, that's like washing your hands. I don't think I even have to explain why, but right now disinfectant wipes are necessary. There's just, small personalized packages that can go in your backpack. They can clean up things. They can work as a hand washing. They're great. The reason I showed the bug wipes is because I think it's important for us to be mindful of other people around us as well as the environment. It's way better to use a bug wipe than it is to use bug spray. When you use bug spray, you are not only spraying yourself, but you're spraying the surroundings, right? So just be mindful of that. And also they're not a liquid. So they go really well in your suitcase without counting as a liquid. But I find that I just keep 1 pack or 2 packs in my backpack at all times. And when I need them, it's easy. It actually is good for 2 people. We have found on the Galapagos tour, we shared them and we could get 2 people done with 1 wipe. So just know that. The pocket tissue is there not only to blow your nose, but it is there in emergencies to be toilet tissue, because you will find that inevitably when you are on tour, you will get to a bathroom and you need to go so badly and there is no toilet tissue. So this works as toilet paper as well. So I always keep that with me in my backpack to get me through those times that I need it. Medicines, I put this picture here just to remind you, if you do have prescription medicine, please know that either you should have the bottles with you or you should have pictures of the prescriptions. And traveling during COVID, you should have a full week's extra of your medicine on you. God forbid that you test positive and you don't get home when you want to. You should always have a full week of prescription extra, just in case you're going to need it in case of emergency. But if you are taking the little containers and you put your prescriptions in them, just take pictures of all of the real prescriptions, so that God forbid if something happens to you and you find yourself in the hospital or whatever happens in emergency cases, they will know what prescription medicine you take. Okay. Energy boosters. So this is something that I not only use when I'm traveling, but I use it in my life as well. I'll tell you why. These are the 5 things that I think, or actually there are 4 things that I think are really important to keep. One is a kind bar. If you are allergic to nuts, you'll have your own kind of bar that you use, but I use kind bars because the protein in the nuts and the energy that comes with either the chocolate or the peanut butter or whatever do well for me. And they don't squish, like you can't really hurt them or destroy them in your bag. So I find that they're the best that I have used. So a couple kind bars in the bottom. On the right-hand side, I'm showing you something called Drip Drop. I love these. They are electrolyte powder additions. You could put them in your water bottle. They are supposedly 3 times the amount of electrolytes as like a Gatorade or something of that nature. There are also things out there called liquid IV. They're supposed to be 6 times. I like the flavor and the taste of these better than the liquid IV, but I have used both of them. I always keep them in my bag for people who need more energy, who are sort of hitting a low, and also just, to get you to that next meal. One thing you realize when you're doing group travel is that you're not eating on your time, you're eating on the group's time. So you might find at 11 o'clock in the morning, you are famished and you need something, just go in your bag and get a kind bar and you're all good. Or just go in your bag and put a little bit of electrolytes in your water and it'll get you over that hump. The 2 candies in the middle, specifically, I put these there to tell a little bit about why I use these. On the bottom, the Werther's, the sugar and the caramel, I don't know why these work better for me than others, but they get you through that low piece too. And as we know, I travel with a lot of girls and they're teenage girls, and teenage girls, for some reason, they like to faint. They like to lose their, they don't like to, but because of where they are in their life, they often lose energy. So these Werther's help people. They help people get through those low times and they give them a little life back in them. And I keep the peppermints there because bus rides, specifically for bus tours, you might use them on a safari tour too, but specifically when you might feel a little nauseous because of motion sickness or just, just that feeling of blahness, a peppermint just takes that nauseous away. You can use ginger too. I have little ginger candies as well. I didn't put them on here, but I prefer the peppermint. Peppermint works best for me. But if you are one of those people and you find yourself that you get a little nauseous on a bus, they're great for that. In case of emergency, so when you're traveling with me, I have all these things with me so that you don't have to bring them. But if you are not traveling with me somewhere, you may want to think about it. In general, when you go to Europe, your body gets stopped up. So we use Miralax. When you go to Africa and South America, your body runs a little bit more. So we use Imodium. So you just have to kind of know what you need, because you don't want to torment your body, right? You don't want to be uncomfortable. So you want to have, or you want to know what to ask for in those situations. I take duct tape, I take an ACE bandage, I take aspirin, Tylenol, Motrin, solves for soreness, muscle soreness things, a first aid kit, feminine products, electrolytes, Gatorade packs, blister helpers, Gas X, Fix-A-Dent, eye drops, Benadryl, all the things that you can think of, I carry with me on a daily basis when you're on tour with me. So you don't have to pack all this extra stuff, because I got your back. That doesn't mean that, you know, I have toothpaste for you and other things like that that are essentials. These are in case of emergency products. It just seems silly to have everybody have the same items when literally if you're using one or two of them, you know, in a trip. So it saves people room by me consolidating. It's sort of like a first aid kit. Okay, so that is the end of my packing saga. I'm going to go on to travel in general and our trips. So everybody always asks me, and I mean, I get asked this question all the time. What's my favorite trip? So I put a couple of these down, right? And not because they're my favorites, but they're ones that just came to mind. I had just come back from the Galapagos, so I gave you a blue-footed booby. I was in Holland recently, so I put up a windmill. I'm going to Venice soon, and I'm thinking of that. I was in Paris in February, and Jordan is an exotic tour that always stood out to me. So what is my favorite? You would think out of all those places and all the other places I've been, I can think of a few of them and tell you why they're my favorite. But truly, what is my favorite tour of all times is my next tour. I always say that, and it's so right, because the anticipation of a tour is so energizing to think and plan and get ready for a tour that it almost is as good as the adventure you're on when you're finally there. In our case, where I have group travel, some people are looking, well, especially after a pandemic, some people have been looking forward to these tours for 4 years. They planned them so long ago. So it is a wonderful thing to go through the journey of not only planning, getting ready, but also going on a tour. So we have a lot of questions on what are your tours that are coming up. I'm going to have to look at my large screen because that's where the presentation is showing. So as I said, I'm going to the national parks next week. We leave on Monday, and we have a very small group of 10 going there. I'm very excited to go with new friends on there. We have our girl tour. I say girl, but it's really multi-generational. When I say that, it's really folks from the age of like 16, 15, all the way up through 70 something. And that's the European Palooza. I believe we have 42 people going there. And then we're off to Alaska. It's a land and sea tour. So it's a week on land and a week on a cruise. And we have, I think, 21 or 22 going on that one. And then in September, we're off to Venice, Florence, Rome with the Sorrento extension. And there's about half of us going on to Sicily after that. And that has a September 12th departure. That I think we're at about 22. So we have a couple spots available on that one. October 7th, we are departing for our safari to Kenya and Tanzania. And some of us are staying behind to go to Zanzibar after that. I think we're at about 24 on that tour. We do have some openings there as well. And to finish out the year, we have our Ama Waterways River Cruise, the Christmas Markets River Cruise. And for those of you who followed me a couple weeks ago on the Ama Waterways Tulip Time Cruise, you will be so excited, because I will tell you that they do treat you extremely well. You feel it's a different experience. An Ama Waterways River Cruise to a bus tour it's oranges and apples. It cannot be compared. You are dealing with 5-star experience, 5-course meals, a lot of relaxation time, a lot of being treated exceptionally well, and it's a completely different experience. And it is a good thing to be able to unpack once on your cruise and then pack it all up again at the end. This cruise does offer pre-tour in Prague and post-tour in Budapest. I believe we have about 62 travelers on that, and that I could fill up the boat. So unfortunately, I only have 2 cabins left, but the boat is pretty much full. And the reason that doesn't have a limit, obviously, is it has the limit of the boat. So that's why that cruise. We will break up into smaller groups when we are doing our excursions, and we'll break up into smaller groups when we're on the land, as well as the excursions when we're on the boat. So if you are on the call and you're going on the Christmas markets, don't think that 60 of us are going to be together at all times. But we will celebrate some things together as a group in receptions or something like that. But most of the excursions will be broken up into smaller groups. And then where do we go from that in 2023? Portugal, Spain, and Morocco. That's a pretty long tour, so we can use our skills that we learned tonight on packing to see if we can pack on a carry-on only for that one. I think it's, I want to say it might be, I don't know, I'm going to guess, maybe 18, 21 days, something like that. It might be 21 days with the extension. And that is April 13th. Right now, I think we have 32 people on that one. And then Peru, that is a multi-generational tour in the summer of 2023. I think we have about 21 going there, so that's a nice size group. China and Japan, I think we have about 35, 36 going there. And to answer the questions of the folks that are thinking, China and Japan, Japan's not even open yet. We are confident that by next year, Japan will open back up. And I know that there's some turmoil going on in that region. And you know what? We're flexible. If it happens that we get to next year at this time and we have to collectively as a group make a decision, whether we move it a year or whether we change some of the itinerary, that's what we'll do. That's what we've been doing for the last 2 years. So that does not scare me anymore. And again, if you're on this call and you're going on that tour, just please know flexibility is one of the things that's gotten us through and back to travel during the pandemic. And then in the fall, can't wait to go to Iceland and Norway with this group. And I think we're at about 20 or so. We have plenty of room on that tour if anybody wants to join us. We are all out of singles right now, so we're looking for people to double up and or come in as a pair. And then what's beyond next year? So there's plenty of trips that I'm planning and also trips that are already being put out there. The Galapagos cruise, I'm doing that for folks, just the Galapagos part of it. And we're going to do that in the winter of 2024. That means early 2024, not late. So it'll be right in the beginning of the year of 2024. And then we're going to look at doing Southern Italy as a food and wine tour. It seems a little silly because I don't drink, but I know a lot of you do. And I know you appreciate wine, and I certainly appreciate food, so that we can appreciate it all together. But the region is also something that I've gotten asked about a lot, is that the southern region of Italy is desirable for a lot of people to explore. So we're looking at that. And then hopefully in the fall, I'm planning this one right now. We're going to do Greece and Turkey, concentrating on the Greek islands with a lot of the tour. And then we'll hit Athens, and then we'll hit Turkey as well. But we're looking at the fall of 2024 for that. And then sometime in 2024, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure how 2023 is going to flesh out. We're adding Croatia and Slovenia, 2 very hot areas right now for travel, and also a very undiscovered area still for travel. So I'm really looking forward to putting that back on. But again, holding out to find out what's going on with the unrest and with the war in Ukraine. Then we'll figure out where we're going to put that into the calendar. We're going to go back on the Ama Waterways River for the fall, hopefully in 2024, to end on or around Halloween in Transylvania. So that will be the lower Danube. Right now, we're going to do the upper Danube for the Christmas markets, but we're going to go down lower and in Bucharest. And then we have Antarctica in early 2025. That I think we have 18 people signed up, and actually I've already busted that open. I was given 16 spots, but I've taken more spots from them. So if you're interested, I can easily go back and fight for more spots. And then we're looking at another Tulip Time cruise in the same time as I just went, which was I guess late April. But this time we'll be doing the Rhine, and that will be the castles going into Germany and Switzerland. And then we're going to repeat, or at least repeat somewhat, for the Girl Scouts that are a little bit younger now, who are looking to do the World Centers. In 2025, we're going to do Paris, London, Paris, and Switzerland with our chalet and Pax Lodge. So that will be really good for them. That'll be a summer tour. Again, open to everybody, but really catering to the girls. So it's a lower level hotel stay and meal plan than you would get on an adult tour. And in 2025, I'm excited to go back to Egypt and Jordan. That is what I would call an exotic tour. The safaris and Egypt and Jordan are the exotic tours. The exotic tours are really all inclusive. They include all of your meals and everything with the tour, as opposed to other tours that are more free time involved. These tours don't have as much free time because of the regions. Okay, so what is it? What is the details about traveling on my tour? So let's talk about navigating the airports. And I just kind of put these things in here because there were questions for them. But essentially, navigating the airports, arrive with plenty of time. And I'm saying like 4 hours. It was typical years ago to go 2 hours. Then we went up to 3 hours for international travel. It is not a bad idea to leave yourself 3 to 4 hours at the airport. I have seen horror stories with my group leaders and how they have had to hold planes, how they have missed planes. There is so much going on with the documentation and what the demands are in terms of getting through right now during a pandemic, that 4 hours. So you take your time, you go through, and you have a meal on the other side. You enjoy it, right? It's part of the journey. Just plan for it so that you're not rushed and you're not up against the wall in terms of getting on that plane. TSA and global entry. Some people have asked about that. Is it necessary? Should I get it? TSA is pre-check, right? I think that costs about maybe $85. I don't know, but I'm going to say that. I'm not exactly sure. You could text me in the chat if you know, but essentially TSA pre-check allows you to go through security with your shoes on. You don't have to take out the 311 bag, and it gives you some graces going through security, and you get, oh, nice. It was $85. That was a good guess then. Somebody validated my $85. So it's quicker for you to get through security. They have a different line. It allows you to get through a little quicker. Global entry gives you TSA pre-check in the United States, but it also allows you when you return to the US, it allows you to cut through all of the line, essentially, scan your passport and go right through. The global entry, which is $100, the TSA pre-check is $85. The global entry, if you do a lot of international travel, is a great way to come back in the US. If you don't have it though, there is another thing called mobile passport. And after your plane lands, if you put the information into the app for mobile passport, you can get through a lot more quickly, I'd say, than the regular line. So the first thing is global entry. The second thing for free is mobile passport. So it's absolutely free. So if you don't have global entry to get back in the US, download the mobile passport and use the app. So a lot of people are texting about global entry. So I know, just because I've done this, I had applied for global entry because mine expired, and I had an appointment in July or something, and I applied in February. So they said, it's very difficult to get an appointment. But I will tell you that as soon as you come back from a foreign country the first time, they have you registered if you have an appointment, and they pull you aside and say, would you like to do the interview right now? I did this in February. I went to Paris in February right after I applied, and they told me my appointment was going to be in July or June or some ridiculous month that was far away. They knew I had scheduled it. They pulled me off right away and they said, oh, and I said, of course I want to do it. It took me 5 minutes. I got my global entry and it's all good. So I understand that you have to come back in the country to get it, but it does, if you do have an appointment that's far out and you're going to be traveling in the meanwhile, you can get it at the airport. You don't have to make that appointment. They'll just actually, they'll actually know that you're there. And that's only some airports. In our case, Newark, New York, Philadelphia, they're all hubs. So they're all good for that global entry. I unfortunately don't know the rules in Canada. I'm speaking from the US standpoint. So if you are Canadian and you're on this call, I don't know. I'm sorry. I just don't know about that. In the event of delays, if you're traveling on a group tour, or if you're traveling alone, or if you're traveling, on your family vacation, the first thing you do is go to the ticket counter. So I'm traveling on United. I check the app before I go to the airport, or I check online and it says I'm on time. I go to the airport, but when I get to the airport, they say, oh, your flight's canceled, or, oh, there's a delay, or, oh, there's a mechanical error. In today's world, oh, there's a labor issue. We don't have the pilot, or we don't have the flight attendant. You go right to the ticket counter. And at the same time that you're walking to that ticket counter, you call them, right? So that you have at least 2 points of entry and you're trying your best to get that ticket resolved. It does not help you to call the tour company. It doesn't even help you to call me. You can call me and I'll be another person on the phone for you. But the best thing to do is get right to the ticket counter in the airport. They're the ones that can help you out the quickest, and get on the phone and see who picks up first. I'll tell you a little story. In February, I was going to Paris. I checked in, I was fine. Right before I decided to leave for the airport, I looked at the app and it said my flight was delayed and I had a connection. So the delay was going to make me miss my connection. I got on the phone right away. Of course, I was on hold. I got in the car. I live about 45 to 50 minutes away from Philadelphia. I went to the closest airport, which was Philadelphia. That was where my ticket was ticketed. By the time I got to the ticket counter, they never picked up the phone. I was still on hold. And at the ticket counter, I was able to re-ticket my ticket for a flight out of Newark, which was an hour and 15 minutes the other way, but it still worked because I had 4 hours ahead of time. I had plenty of time to make this happen, and I was able to navigate it. But the best way for me to do that was through the ticket counter at an airport. So don't, if you do go on the app and it says there's a delay or a cancellation, don't sit in your house and wait for it to solve its problem. Go to the airport where you were ticketed and work it out with them, okay? And then again, pack your flexibility, your patience, and your kindness, and those 3 ingredients will help you get on the next flight. So you can't do any more than that. So I know people are nervous about what's going on in the airports and the airlines with the shortages and everything. And you really can't do any more than what I've just explained. But if you do that, and again, just remember, be flexible, be kind. It's not those people's fault that the other people didn't show up to work, right? So just do whatever you can to get through the situation with the lowest blood pressure possible, okay? All right, if you are with a tour group though, and your plane does get rescheduled, you will want to connect with the emergency number and just let them know. So for example, I'm traveling with EF Tours and I was given my emergency number by your group leader, me, and you are at the airport by yourself and your flight got changed. After everything's worked out, just give them a call and say, hey, this is Marah Walsh. Instead of me coming in on United from Philadelphia, I'm now on American from Newark, and my flight number is this. Because ultimately, they have somebody waiting for you on the other side to pick you up at the airport, and you want to make sure that you are there, that they're there waiting for you. Okay, I know I'm going long, and I'm sorry I wasted a little bit of time in the beginning with my technology, but I'm going to keep going. So buses versus river cruises. Oranges and apples. I've already talked about them. Buses, you have to do a lot of different things for prepping for the day, as opposed to river cruises and bus tours. The expectations are different in terms of your mobility. On a bus tour, you really have to be physically able, right? Like you unfortunately, a bus tour is not the tour for you if you're using a walker or if you're using a cane or something. Those are, river cruises. On the other hand, if you can navigate through the airport and get onto a river cruise, that's a wonderful place for a great holiday for someone who is more challenged with mobility issues. But in terms of my tours, my tours are not designed for people with mobility issues. If you do have mobility issues and you're looking for tours like this, I have about 6 companies that deal with it specifically. So send me an email. My email's on the last slide. Send me an email, marahwalsh@gmail.com, and I will send you some links that really work well with folks with mobilities for touring internationally. Okay, that takes me to meals on tour. So they're different depending on every single tour you're on. If you're on a student tour, typically your meals are, breakfast is included and it's usually a cold meal. Your dinners are included and that's usually a preset. You get what you get and you don't get upset. And it's a main course and a dessert and water, or salad, or an appetizer and a main course and water. So it's 2 courses and water. If you choose to drink sodas or an alcoholic beverage, it is on you. You pay extra for that. An adult tour, a bus tour, is generally breakfast is included. It's a hot breakfast. Dinners are included, but not every night. And they give you choices. So you might have 4 choices, 3 choices, or something of that nature. And they're 3 courses plus an alcoholic beverage. So it's an appetizer, a main course, a dessert, and an alcoholic beverage. And it's beer or wine. That's the alcoholic beverage. If you're on an exotic tour, which I talked about, safaris or Egypt, those are all the meals are included. Breakfast and lunch and dinner every day. River cruises. So a cruise in nature includes all food in general, and the dinners are generally 5-course dinners. Sometimes they're 4, depending, but 4 or 5 courses. The servings are small, so you can get through those courses. But if you choose to eat more, you can ask for more. It's fine. They're plated. It's not a buffet. They're plated, so you do get. And you do pick from a menu. The chef offers a recommendation, but you pick from a menu. If you have dietary needs, I have been on tours with many people with different dietary needs, some extremely extensive and some very, very minimal. Every single tour company I've been with has taken care of them perfectly. So you do not have to worry. Don't stay home because you're gluten-free, or don't stay home because you have an allergy to something. It can be worked out, and it can be worked out very well. So just be communicative about that. Jumping over to travelers and solo travelers. I know I have a lot of folks that travel solo, and their questions are abundant in the sense that, can we travel solo? Yes, of course you can. There's usually always a single supplement to that. There are some tours that, in most cases, I only get a certain amount of single rooms. So once they're used up, then it's either roommate matching, or you have to wait on a wait list for a single room. And then, there were some questions about organized tour time versus free time. Like I said, exotic tours, river cruise, exotic tours, you're 24/7. You're covered. It's not that you don't get free time, but you don't get free time to walk about, right? We're not going to give you free time to walk about in the safari, in the Masai Mara, or we're not giving you free time to walk about in Cairo. It's just not right or good for you. So you might have free time to go to the pool for an hour, or you might have free time to go play cards or something of that nature for a couple hours, but it's not free time in the sense that it's exploring time. On the bus tours for the kids, the multi-generational tours, there's really no free time. I mean, it's go, 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 go. Morning to night, it's go, go, go. In the evening, sometimes after dinner, you'll have a little bit of free time. But during the day, the free time that you have is like your lunchtime. Like the tour director will say, okay, you have an hour and a half to go get lunch. explore this area and I'll meet you back at 3 o'clock or something of that nature. So your free time is generally built into your lunchtime. On an adult tour, you have much more free time. Sometimes you have a whole day free. It just depends on the itinerary, how many excursions you sign up for, and what you want out of your experience. You can have as much free time or as little free time as you'd like. Okay, so I'm moving on to tour details. I think I covered this pretty well, but I got some questions on how many people are on our tour, in our tour groups. I tried to tell you as I walked through the tours how many people are in them. So they range, and they range from all different group sizes. But even when we have larger group sizes, we chunk our groups down into patrols so that we have smaller groups. So we're navigating as smaller groups. Excuse me, a cost of a tour. That's an impossible question to answer. I'm sorry to say that, but like I can tell you that tours range anywhere from $4,000 to $12,000. It just depends on the tour. So if you have an interest in a specific tour, I'd be happy to talk to you about them. One of the things that I thought was a good question that I take for granted because I know the back end of it is, you know, how do you work with deposits and balances and all of that? Mostly every tour you can get a seat on, meaning you could get a reserve a spot by putting down a deposit. That deposit could be anything from $300 to $500, depending on the tour. And that can sit there until 3 months before your tour when your final payment is due. So in most cases, you're putting down $500 or less, and then you're waiting till the final payment is due. You have the choice to do auto pay where you can pay as you go all along so that you can budget it. I also want to mention that if you do buy the travel protection insurance right off the bat, that is an upfront cost as well. So that adds into the deposit cost. So I hope I explained that a little bit for people. Tipping on tour, guides, bus drivers, ship crew, city guides, restaurants, porters, bathrooms, attendees, all of that. This is why I said bring small bills. The first line item, the first bullet, if you're going with me, I'm covering those things. So I'm covering the guides, I'm covering the bus drivers, I'm covering the ship crew. That's all covered by me. That's my gratitude for you for you to trust me enough to go on my tours, right? So I appreciate that. And that's what I do as a thank you to the folks on my tour. So the top line is covered. The next line, restaurants, porters, bathroom attendants, all that, that's where all those ones and fives and mostly ones come into play, where you're literally using up all your ones and fives on those people to give them a gratuity. And you want to make sure you have those dollars or euros or whatever it is in your bag to do that. Money on hand, how do I get this money? Where does it come from? So one, you can start with money. You can go to the bank. In most cases right now, you cannot walk into the bank and say, I need $100 worth of euros. During the pandemic, most banks are not carrying international foreign currency anymore. So you have to go and order it. So if you need it for Friday, go order it on Monday. You need to have 2, 3, 4 days to get that back in. So do that. And you can ask at the bank, if you want $100 in euros, you could say, I want it in the smallest bills you have. So please know that you can, you can ask for those things. I always say, bring an ATM card, bring a credit card, and bring money. There are ATMs there. You can get more cash out with ATMs, but again, it's not going to be small bills when you go to ATMs, but you will be able to use them, go buy a thing of gum or whatever, and then they turn into small bills. The credit cards that I talk about, it is essentially important that you use a credit card that has no foreign exchange fees. If you have one of these on the left in your pocket, a Chase, American Airlines, a Capital One, most of those they come with no foreign exchange fees. If you have not gotten a credit card and you want to get one for a future trip, I highly recommend the one on the right, which is the Bank of America card. The reason I recommend that is because there's no annual fee and there's no foreign exchange fee. It costs you $0 to carry it in your pocket. And when you are traveling, you can use it freely and you will not be hit up with foreign exchange fees. Another little tip I have for people when they travel, inevitably the store clerk will say, how do you want that bill? Do you want it in our local currency or US dollars? You always say your local currency, please. You do not want to pay for the conversion for them to charge it in US dollars back to euros and back to US dollars, right? So you want to say your local currency, please. So if you are, again, reiterate, I know I'm going a little fast because I don't want to keep you forever, but the one on the right, if you do not have a credit card, get the one on the right, okay? Did you see that blow up? That was crazy. Okay, travel protection insurance. Usually on group travel, the travel protection is offered from the tour company. So you can buy it right up front with the tour group. However, sometimes it's exorbitant, especially on a river cruise. Like the companies that offer the tour group, the travel protection insurance on the river cruises is far more than what I can get for you from Allianz, which is a third-party insurance company. And please know that when you're traveling professionally, whether you're traveling personally, you can purchase that Allianz through me. I really would appreciate any use of my small business so that any of the commissions that they give, they would give to us, and you would not pay any more for that. But it would be, it's a nice way to support small businesses by going through me as opposed to directly through. And that's the same. Whether you're going directly through Viking or Waterways or Allianz or any of those companies. If you want to book something and you use me to do it, it's not going to charge you any more, and you'll be supporting Girl Travel Tours with it. And obviously I'll be very appreciative of that. So the flights, we talked about arrival day in the international destination. This is where we get there. We want to be prepared with the TSA and global pre-check. We talked about it. Customs, play it by ear. You have to get through customs. First of all, you have to get through the passport check and then customs. Customs seems to be easier these days than the passport check is. And then we talked about in the event of a cancellation and how to handle that. Sorry, I have a duplicate slide here. Communication while you're on tour. Yes, you can have your cell phones, and your cell phones are usable. You do have to call your cell phone company or go online and figure out what their international plan is. Many cell phones now have international plans where they just flip over to a $10 a day. If you turn your cell phone on airplane mode, you cannot use data, so it will not charge you. You're on Wi-Fi only. But if your phone is off of airplane mode, you will be charged for international calling. And like I said, usually it's $10 a day. Some people choose the days they want to connect with their family at home, and they only use it those days, and then they put it back on airplane mode for the rest of it. You can use your phone with Wi-Fi as long as it's Wi-Fi on, airplane mode on. And the apps that you would use to do that are WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. Some people may purchase a SIM card to use abroad. I don't do that because I have a iPhone that is leased with the plan, so I can't use that iPhone in that way other places. And then there is our Facebook group. We always communicate with everybody. So when you're on tour with me, please share that group with your family and friends so that they can follow you and they can see what's going on. It's a great way to feel connected for those that are out traveling. Okay, my preferred tour operators that I have been using for the group tours that we do, you'll see them here. EF and EF Go Ahead, Waterways, Globus, Go Galapagos, CIE, Nordic Visitors. I have groups out with all of these companies in the next few months. And then all these other travel partners are and companies that I use and have used in the last 3 to 4 months. So if you're looking for a family vacation, or if you're looking for something for a group that's outside of my travel, by all means, please know that I have relationships with these partners, and I'd be happy to help you get to those destinations with your groups and your families. And now it's time for questions. Whew, so sorry. I don't know what I don't think I said how long this was going to last, but I didn't expect it to be. I thought I was going to go an hour and a half, and I guess my my faux pas in the beginning with the technology led me for longer. So let's take some of these questions. If you have them, let me go through them real quick and see if I can. So Mercedes, how do you test before you leave for the US? You just can do a personal test. It's just really to set your mind at ease that you are negative and you're not going to share COVID with those in your group. So you could just test at home, and hopefully you have some of those home tests that you have. In some of your messages, you've mentioned a Girl Travel Tours t-shirt. How do we acquire one of these? Well, Leanne, for those that go on my tours, some of them, especially the summer tours, we have Girl Travel Tour shirts, but depending on what tour you're on, if it's I know what tour you're on, but depending on what tour you're on, whether it's an adult tour or a kid tour, it depends on what those destinations are and if it is conducive to a t-shirt. But I can guarantee you that no matter what tour you take with me, there are special niceties. And if you love the t-shirt, just send me a note via email, and we'll work on that. Okay, so let's see. Is there luggage charge for international flights? For some airlines, there is, Sylvia. Some airlines now are charging for international flights. Most of them don't, but it is dependent on the class of your ticket. So you will have to check with the airline on that, or if you're on a tour with me, you can check with me and I will let you know. But some airlines now are charging. Other than the passport and ID, do you know what form we need to fill out in order to go to Italy? Not yet, because it'll be different by the time we go in September. If you're thinking of a different trip earlier on, you'll want to go to the CDC website and see what the countries are asking for. But you can also do it through the airline. So if you have airline tickets that are outside of my group, you will be able to know that through the airline and through the government CDC site. But if you're traveling with me, I will be telling you beforehand. I just tend to not, I know people worry and I know they want to plan and prepare, but there's no sense thinking of what we have to do in September, because it's going to change 5 times between now and September. So I think we just have to learn patience, and we have to hold out for that information. When you're away on one of your tours, do you organize COVID tests? Yes. So any of the groups that I take, we organize the COVID test before we come back to the US. Good question. I assume for Girl Travel Tour tours, specifically the Christmas Markets tour, you will arrange the mechanisms to the return. Yep, COVID tests will be arranged. Same thing, a lot of the same questions there. Okay, so once I'm at a destination, do I carry my passport on me or lock it in the hotel? If I'm on a river cruise, I lock it in the safe. If I'm on a bus tour that I'm leaving every 2 days, I keep it with me at all times, especially if I'm traveling Europe, because in some cases you need a passport to enter museums. It's rare now, but there are a couple places that you still need a passport to enter. So the tour director will ask to collect all the passports to do that. I personally feel more comfortable with it on me than with it in a hotel room. Even if I would never leave it in the hotel, obviously, unless you have a 2-night, right? If you have a 2-night stay there, that's the only time you would want to put it into a safe. But I learned a trick that I think is a really good trick, is put one of your shoes in the safe with your passport, so that there's absolutely no way you're going to leave it behind. That would be a really good idea to do if you're putting your passport in a safe. I personally don't like it because I talked to you already about me putting everything on my person. I want to know where it is and I can feel it and I know it's there. What security clothes do you recommend for warmer weather? I have a puffy jacket that has 2 inside pockets and 2 outside pockets with zippers. I use that one. And actually, if you followed my Tulip Time tour, you saw it. It was a gold puffy jacket. It's very thin, so it's not, it's not bulky, nor is it too heavy for me. I generally run a little cold anyway, so that works fine for me. But I do upgrade to the puffy jacket for colder weather. And probably for the Christmas markets tour, I will have a long puffy jacket instead of the short puffy jacket. So in most countries, you do have to convert. The question is, do you convert your money in other countries or can you use US dollars? On exotic tours, US dollars are fine. So Egypt, Safari, South America, like Galapagos, US dollars were fine. But most countries are conversion, especially Europe. You got to go to euros, you got to go to pounds. So that's all conversion. When you go with me on a group, I will always ask the group, you know, whether you want to convert, and I'll do a large conversion ahead of time so that we have those dollars, so that we have those euros. But if you're doing it on your own, by all means, you can go to your bank or AAA or any of those places and get some money converted before you go. With respect to the personal items backpack, if it fits under the seat, if you are tall, the international travel ends up being extremely uncomfortable. You're right, Mercedes, it does. And I'm not even tall, but what I do, I have a little trick. So I fit it under the seat when we take off, and when I finish taking off, I move it and I hold it straight up and I put it under my legs. So my legs are now kind of over it, which is actually good because it keeps my legs a little bit lifted and it gives them a little bit more lift. So that, you know, most people wear compression socks if you're going on long flights. It actually gives a little bit of lift to those legs so that they're not so far down for your blood circulation. So use that tip too. Use it under the seat, but then move it so it's right up against your seat during the bulk of the flight. And it works as sort of like a leg rest as well. So you never check a bag. Are you suggesting we can't have a checked bag? I'm not suggesting that, Nancy. If you want to check a bag, you have the right to check a bag. It's absolutely fine. What I am telling you, which is a fact, is I have been on 5 tours this year, and all 5 of them had people who had lost luggage, or it wasn't lost, it just never made it to the destination. And that's a shame. I mean, it took their energy away. It also took their attention for the tour away because they were always preoccupied with the luggage, the lost luggage, retrieving the luggage. How do you get the luggage? When can I go get the luggage? Is the luggage going to get to me? What do I do for clothes? Can I borrow clothes? Do I have to buy clothes? That's what I'm suggesting. I'm not telling anybody they can't check luggage. I'm just telling you that it is possible not to check luggage. That's all. And you know, just from my experience with all the travel that I do and all the lost bags I've seen and how it upsets people, I just don't think it's necessary. But by all means, if you want to check a bag, go check a bag. You know, when I go to Antarctica, I don't see how I'm not going to be able to check a bag. That one is a tough one. Like Antarctica that's a whole different ball game. So, you know, that one I don't know. I can't imagine that I'm going to use a carry-on for that one, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get better at it by then. Carol is a fashionista. You're saying the Christmas markets cruise is very casual. I am saying you can make it what you want, Carol. So I was with a fashionista on this last cruise. Her name is Jerry, and she was dressed to the nines every night. She looked awesome, but all of her clothes were very, they didn't wrinkle, so you could easily roll them if you needed to or whatever. It's up to you, Carol. Like, bring it all out if you want. I will be impressed every day with your clothes, and I would love your outfits, and I'll be actually a little bit envious because I'm just not a fashionista and I just don't put the energy into it. But certainly if you are, flaunt it, do what you need to do. I like to have an umbrella more for shade than rain. Yep, I get it. Umbrellas, some people love them. Put it in your luggage. Those small umbrellas fit at the bottom of the backpack very easily. You'll be all good. What about singles on your tours? Extra cost? Do you pair the singles up? I think I mentioned that, but I'll reiterate. Yes, singles are possible. There are single supplements. We do run out of single rooms, so we do roommate match if necessary. And sometimes we can't roommate match because we don't find another roommate for the person. The other thing I will say that if you are roommate matched and your roommate that you matched with decides to cancel a month before the tour or whatever, you are liable. You are still in that single. So your room would bump up to a single because obviously you would either have to do that or cancel. So you just have to be mindful of that. If you are rooming with someone you don't know, if one of you cancels, it does affect the other person. Oh, okay. So Nancy says, yes, this is right. And Nancy, it's actually, she says, go on the Facebook page of the airlines faster to contact them. I have found two things. Twitter is also great. If you put something on Twitter and you're trying to get through to an airline that's somehow not responding, they respond very well on Twitter. They also respond very well on Facebook. So yes, social media gurus, use your resources, right? Use the ticket counter, use your phone, use social media, do whatever you have to do to get those people to respond. So here's a good question that I didn't answer. This is from Sue. If you take a flight overnight to get to Europe, do you take a nap or power through? Everybody who knows me knows there's only one answer for this. You power through. You walk and walk and walk that first day you get there in order to get past dinner, and then you take an early night sleep. But if you can get to 8:30, 9 o'clock at night and go to sleep, by the next day, you're perfectly adjusted and you feel great. So please know, power through. To take that nap, it just makes you really queasy and off your game, and it takes you longer to adjust. It really does work. Power through. Okay, so I think we answered this. This is a question about returning and what kind of COVID test you need. It needs to be proctored or it needs to be electronically proctored. So you either have to go to a facility and have them do it, or it has to be electronically proctored so that they send you the PDF file with your negative result. How do we accommodate a CPAP? Easily. A CPAP, we tell the airline that you have a CPAP. They will mark it, they will indicate it. It comes on as a carry-on with you. It comes on as a personal item, and it's fine. Sometimes you may have to consolidate it in with your other backpack, but in most cases, I've traveled with people with CPAPs in the last couple tours I've taken, and it's just another item and they're fine. They know it's a medical, they know it's a necessity, so they allow that as an additional item. You just have to be mindful of that and make sure they know that you have it. Yeah, I've never had a problem, but one time, Juliet, the question is, have you ever had a problem with people with a CPAP traveling internationally and having them count it as a piece of luggage? I have not had a problem, but we did have a problem once where they pulled it from a traveler, and there was some commotion, and actually she almost missed the flight because of it, because they pulled her out of line for it. But we did solve that and got her back on her way, and they allowed her to come on the flight with the CPAP. Will you have a review before each of our tours? Yes, I have departure meetings that are both Zoom and in person, depending on where the bulk of the people come from. And we go through everything individually for each tour. We just had our departure meeting on Sunday night for our National Parks tour that's coming up next week. I have a departure meeting coming up for my June tour. I do it with every single group so we can exhaust all questions and make sure that we are 100% prepared. Water bottles. That's a good question. I didn't cover it. I had it in the picture and I never mentioned it. Are disposable water bottles never available overseas? Clean water bottles? You have to bring a reusable water bottle. Very few of these bottles exist anymore where we go. In fact, in most tours, well, actually, I would say in the European tours, they still have single-use water bottles on the bus to take, but in most places where we're going, they have large water and they're just refilling the refillable water bottles. And in most of the hotels now, they have water for refilling them. So yes, you will want to take a refillable water bottle. Is there a customary tip percentage in Europe or Italy? Years ago was small change, but curious to see if it's changed. It's still small change. Honestly, a couple euros, like 10% is excessive. So yes, you're just throwing your small, and that's why I say small bills, small change. In Europe, the euros are change, they're coins. So yes, you're just throwing them around for through your tips. And I will mention that I also think it's important to tip even if the tour company is paying for a meal. I know that people think that they're compensated, but especially given the fact that these people haven't worked in 2 years, they really need their tips. They are counting on this, I guess, bounce back from the time that they haven't made any money. So for us, a couple dollars on the table is nothing, but for them, if you think about it as crowdsourcing is, you know, think about it like from a virtual tour standpoint, everybody leaves a couple dollars, couple dollars, couple dollars. It really adds up for the tour directors. So it's the same thing, whether you're a server, a bus driver, a tour director, dollars add up. So the more we do as individuals, the bigger the pot is as a whole. That's just my mantra for tipping. I am a big proponent of tipping and a big proponent of supporting servers, tour directors, bus drivers, wherever we can. Okay, so I'm going to go through the chat a little bit to see if there's anything else. Oh, Kelly, I'm so glad to see you. So Kelly is off to Italy in a couple months on a customized tour that we put together for her because she's going to a wedding. And yes, Kelly, Uber is available. It's the same exact app in Italy. Italy does have another app too, and I'll send you the name for it, but Uber is available overseas. And you can use the same exact app that you have on your phone there that you use here, and it's perfectly fine. You can also, in all cases, ask at the hotel, right? Like, I have to go here. Is it better for me to use an Uber, or can you get me a driver that would be cheaper? Like, you can even say an Uber is costing me 25 euros. Can you get me somebody who's cheaper than that? Or should I use the Uber? And they'll let you know. So use your resources as you are in the hotels as well, so that they can help you along the way. I know you're going to ask that, Sue. I can't remember it. That's why I said I would get it. I have to actually Google that. Somebody Google it and chat me. What is the app that they use in Italy for ride share? They do use Uber, but there is also an app, because when I was just there, my friend from Italy was using it too. So I can't remember the actual name of it. Let's talk about jewelry. I said costume jewelry for a reason. Leave all of your good jewelry home. No wedding rings, no good jewelry. Leave it home. It's okay to leave it home. Even if you are a fashionista, you can dress up costume jewelry and it will look fabulous. But if you lose it, it will not be heartbreaking, right? So try only to bring costume jewelry on a trip, even if you're doing a river cruise and you want to look your best. On the European Palooza and those kinds of tours, I would say leave it all home. There's no reason you need anything on those tours. You're literally going in athletic wear every single day from morning to night. There's no reason, there's no time that you will ever need to dress better than that. Oh, here's one I didn't say, but I had it in a picture, but I didn't comment on it. So, TSA locks. So if you're going to lock your luggage, and often my carry-on, when I leave everything in the hotel room, I may lock the luggage, just because obviously you're not going to take away a whole piece of luggage rather than take an item or two. So there's TSA locks that have a nice little a cord that goes through the luggage hooks, and it locks the luggage very well. So that is a good tip for locking your luggage, not only while you're traveling, but while it's in the hotels when you're gone for the day. The Palooza will need euros and pounds. Yes, that's true. We are going to the UK as well. We're also going to Switzerland. If we get into that whole thing too, there's Swiss francs. But I would not get them. You can give them euros and they'll give you change in Swiss francs, and that's fine. We're not there long enough to worry about that. For Italy during the day touring, do I need to have original vaccine cards and passports? Yes, you do, because especially Italy and Paris are the two places. The Academia and the Louvre, the Uffizi, Those are museums, and they like to see original passports. I'm booked on a tour with you already. Will there be a Zoom meeting to go over it? Yes, there will, specifically for you. Oh, so, are there credit cards that work the best overseas? Ones that don't choke you when you do a large spend. So for example, I have a Capital One card that is a killer. That card, every time I put something through that's not in my direct region, or it's a large number, it shuts down, sends me a text and says, you had a large purchase. Is this okay? Those are probably not the best cards to take. Take a travel card that knows, like the Bank of America card that I suggested, or something of that nature, that knows you're going to be traveling. Go on the websites of your credit cards and tell them what countries you're going to be visiting. They all have an interface on them. Tell them what countries you're going to be visiting so that they know not to shut you down while you're out. Did I get it all? I think I might. Oh, is it blah blah car? I don't think that's what it is. Sue texted me and said, is it blah blah card, the app that they use in Italy? I'm not sure, Sue. That might be. I feel like a tour director on a virtual tour when they answer the questions and they don't know what they're talking about. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. Anyway, moving on. It has been a wonderful 2 hours. This is what happens when all of my tour directors are out on tour. I have to use myself as the star of the show, which I am not very comfortable with usually, but I certainly know how to talk because I'm a talker. My mom used to call me Motor Mouth my whole life with her friends, so we all know where that comes from. Again, you know where to reach me. I am very accessible and happy to help whenever I can. You can text me, you can call me, you can go on our Facebook page, you can send me an email, whatever happens to be your way of contacting. It is perfectly fine with me. So everybody have a great night, and thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to touring with all of you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.